Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. A study by the Agricultural Research Council, together with the Human Rights Commission into child malnutrition and the right to food, has discovered that over 1,000 children present with severe acute malnutrition. The study focused on the period between April 2021 and March of 2022. The problem has resulted in the tragic loss of over 100 young lives. The South African Human Rights Commission has described the situation as a matter of utmost urgency and significance. The Commission says the issue transcends the domain of public health to touch upon the fundamental human rights that are guaranteed under the South African Constitution. It further says that child malnutrition is not merely a concern for the well-being of the affected children, but a stark violation of their rights to food, nutrition, dignity, life, equality, and education. The Agricultural Research Council's research team manager for farmer support, commercialization and enterprise development, Dr. Lerato Matsaunyane, joins us now for more on this. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. Really heartbreaking to begin to talk about the impact of this study and those dear lives affected mostly by it. What stands out for you as you take stock of this very heart-wrenching revelation?
Good evening, and good evening to your viewers. What really stands out for us in terms of the report that came out from a study that was done by the Human Rights Commission is the fact that there is a very serious lack of understanding in terms of child malnutrition or child nutrition. And in a lot of instances, the parents themselves or the communities or the guardians are not afforded enough information for them to understand what goes into child nutrition and which ages are very crucial to ensure that the development of a child is taken care of through food and nutrition.
And the information that comes from this report, I mean, detailing the breakdown of the different ages and the stages of nutrition, what do you think, is the main factor that results in parents not being fully aware of the nutritional value of certain foods and how beneficial they are to these young growing people?
The main causal agent from our perspective, it's education. So it goes down to us as the agricultural sector. What role are we playing to ensure that we share the information, particularly at the Agricultural Research Council? We do extensive research pertaining to nutritional value of vegetable crops that we have in South Africa. So the question becomes, what are we as the agricultural sector doing to contribute to the knowledge systems within South Africa that should be shared with the communities to ensure that they fully understand what we mean when we say that in order for nutrition to be realized, not just food security, but food and nutrition security to be realized, you need to have a well-balanced meal. What constitutes a well-balanced meal? That is the information that is not readily available to these communities. Hence, we see the lack of participation in them ensuring that the children are not suffering from malnutrition.
What does constitute a well-balanced meal?
In our African culture, we normally say 7 colors. So all the colors that are available on the prism, your reds, your greens, your oranges, etc. So we need to ensure that you have sufficient amount of nutrients from your vegetables. You need to have sufficient amounts of carbohydrates, which also translate to you having energy reserves, and obviously the proteins, which goes into the functionality of the muscles. But on the one side, what we've seen is that people always deem meat as the only protein that is available for consumption. And at the Agricultural Research Council, we have done extensive research looking at other forms of proteins that can be consumed in the absence of meat. We're talking about leguminous crops that we do a lot of research on. And in a lot of instances, we also focus on your traditional or indigenous vegetables, because we have found that those are readily available within the communities. There's low production inputs that go into the production of those indigenous vegetables. And at the same time, a lot of the parents grew up on these indigenous vegetables. So the onus is on us to reintroduce the utilization of these indigenous crops.
One of the recommendations speaks about the importance of investigating initiatives to further support and empower small-scale farmers, particularly women, through training. How much of a difference do you think that would make with this collaboration? Because a lot of the recommendations of this report speak a lot about collaboration, be it with the Home Affairs Department, the Education Department, and of course, small-scale farmers.
So in the work that we do as the Agricultural Research Council, the majority of the work is funded by the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, which is our mother body, the National Department of Agriculture. So how we do the work that we do is that as the ARC, we do research and development, and then we transfer the technology to the smallholder farmers. In the Eastern Cape, as an example, there are challenges of water, there are challenges of the condition of the soil. So we come in from the angle of giving the farmers advice and skilling them on how to intensify their production. And subsequently, what happens in the smallholder farmer realm, and not just the household area. In the smallholder farmer realm, what happens is that a smallholder farmer that intensifies production will subsequently result in the hiring of more people, because with smallholder farmers, they're not mechanized, meaning that they rely on labor as part of their production mechanics, if I can put it like that.
Yeah.
So with the work that we do, we transfer the technologies to these smallholder farmers, and through the process, the value chain, it results in them assisting the households through job creation.
It's an interesting angle that you're covering here, because the other efforts to improve dietary diversity insofar as the recommendations are concerned speaks about food security initiatives like community gardens and urban agriculture projects. You speak about assessing the soil in the Eastern Cape, which is heavily affected according to this report. How much of an impact could urban agriculture projects have on such a community, and what will be required to ensure the creation of such projects?
So with regards to urban agriculture, in a lot of the research that's done in urban agriculture, because with the urban agriculture term, it is based on production that happens in urban areas. And as we know, in urban areas, the main challenge is availability of land. So we're looking at systems, production systems that do not solely rely on availability of soil. For example, we have the hydroponic system, which can be used to better produce vegetables in the absence of fertile soil. We have the bag system, which also works in areas where the soil is not available, land is not available, and the fertility is not that good in terms of the soil. So in the programs that we're currently doing in the Eastern Cape, part of the technology that we're transferring is the utilization of urban agriculture technologies to ensure that the people in the Eastern Cape are able to successfully produce. Because as I indicated before, one of the plights of the people in the Eastern Cape, especially in the area of Port St. John's, is availability of water. So we utilize methodologies, production methodologies that will not pinch the water that the households will need for day-to-day use going into the agricultural production.
Very well. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. Agriculture Research Team Manager for Farmer Support, Dr. Lerato Matsaunyane, they're giving us some reaction to the news around the poverty levels as well as the malnutrition affecting particularly young people, more so in the Eastern Cape and other provinces in the country.